everybody, welcome to Birkenhead, and behind me, the tower you can see, is the central hydraulic tower, which at one time would have powered all of the major sort of cranes and lift bridges in this dock complex. It's been derelict for very many years and is now going to be, I believe, resurrected. There's plans afoot to introduce complete new office suites in the surrounding area and to reinstate the machinery inside the building itself. Not quite sure if you can see, but behind me just over yonder is a wreck which has been there for very many years, and I've just taken some shots of that cormorant airing itself on the mast there. We'll see what they're like. It's going to be nothing special, but the last time I came here, which is a good few years ago now, in fact, probably, I'm guessing it might be 10 years since I've been here last. But in those days, you could get right around the actual hydraulic tower itself without any difficulty whatsoever. Now it's all fenced off in preparation, I'm guessing, for the development. So I'm going to walk up past it and see if I can get some closer shots. But a very Victorian Gothic style building with its architecture like that. Very imposing indeed. Well, the old docks here, there's been an awful lot of development over the past 20, 30 years or so. And although, forgive the Canada geese if you can hear them in the background, although large areas of it are still open and derelict when many of the old warehouse buildings have been demolished, there are signs of definite improvements. We have a new lift bridge here. I remember coming down here a few years ago and the original one was still in place. If I can dig them out of the archives, I'll put some images up for you to have a look at. There's some lovely, very rusty iron gates down here, lock gates, which haven't been used for, I don't know, 100 years probably, which I'm going to do some close-ups of in a moment or two when I've finished doing this little piece to camera. But I wanted to tell you what I'm doing this morning. I've come out with the Pen F, and I've decided to try a set of 3 prime lenses. If you like, it's sort of my version of the Holy Trinity of lenses. Going back to when I were a nipper, one of the classic cameras which everybody still aspires to own, and I challenge anybody to say they wouldn't like one, would be a Leica M3 or M2. Now, back in the 50s when they came out, the rangefinder cameras, of course, 35mm rangefinder cameras, the viewfinder was set up in a way that you had frame lines visible in the viewfinder when you changed from a standard lens, which is what I've got on the Pen F now, which would on a 35mm camera have been a 50mm standard lens. The frames in the viewfinder would change when you fitted a moderate wide angle, 35mm in the case of a full frame camera. For me, with the Micro Four Thirds, it's a 17mm Olympus 2.8 Zuiko lens. And on the M3, they had a third set of frame lines, which would change automatically when you fitted a moderate telephoto, which in those days would have been a 135mm. I have recently invested in a 60mm, nearest I could get really, 60mm Sigma DN Art lens. So that gives me my equivalent holy trinity of lenses: standard, moderate wide angle, moderate telephoto. So we've got 120mm in full frame terms, 35mm in full frame terms, and 50mm in full frame terms. 3 lenses, 3 primes. Why have I bothered? Well, point number 1 is the compact nature of the Pen F itself. If you put I don't own the professional 12 to 40mm Pro lens, but if you can imagine that on the Pen F, it just wouldn't look or feel right. I don't think it would handle it all well, and it's not that brilliant with my 12 to 50 on there. So I wanted to go down the route of a more compact system, 3 lenses. So I've come out today. This is not the first location I've been to trying out this trinity of fixed prime lenses, but I've come out today with the intention of varying the angle of view, varying my viewpoint to see what we can get. The downside, of course, to carrying 3 lenses is that you're going to be changing really quite frequently. At the end of the day, though, it only takes, 30 seconds to swap one lens for another. It's no big deal in the great scheme of things. And what I would encourage people to think about is that it encourages you to preview, if you like, your composition. It will give you a better idea as to the angle of view for any given lens. So the more often that I use this 60mm, the more often my brain will compute, aha, I've got to be further away from this shot to get it all in with this lens, or if I want to home in on a specific detail or aspect, that's the lens for me to use. So it encourages me, anyway, to think about where I'm positioning myself and what lens I'm going to use. Yes, I can do the same thing with a zoom lens with my 12 to 50. That's pretty much encompassing and more what I've got here. But I wanted something more compact. And of course, the other advantage is that these are faster lenses than my zooms. The 25mm that I have is the 1.4 Summilux Leica lens from Panasonic, which I think is a cracker, and it's better for low light situations for sure. So I'm going to crack on. I'm going to do different shots of different subjects with the different lenses, and then put up a montage for you to have a look at later. Just taken 3 different shots of this scene here with the bollard in the foreground, and that container ship, or certainly cargo ship, in the background over there. Just to illustrate, I hope, the difference that you can get with the 3 different primes that I've got with me today. Having said that, I've not yet taken the one with the wide angle. Hey. Because with the 25mm at 1.4 and the 120 at 2.8, I'm hoping anyway there'll be a good bit of separation between this bollard and the background. So we're going to try with the 17mm. Let's put the bag down, I think. We'll try and keep the shadow of the bollard in the frame as well. Oh well, it's so bright, it's very difficult to judge on the camera what the images are going to be like. But I'm hoping it'll just illustrate the difference. I think we'll do one of this garden inside a tyre. Well, taking a few stills down here. A little bit disappointed that I can no longer get onto the platform where the hydraulic tower is. That is very securely fenced off, which is understandable. But I'm going to cross over the new lift bridge and see if we can gain access to that area over there. Well, I've been a slightly naughty boy, and as much as I've squeezed through a gap in the fence over on this side of the dock entrance, I'm glad I did, because this is my kind of subject matter. Old derelict truck tires, cable drums, bulks of timber with the old dock bridge control building in the background there. So I'm going to spend a few minutes wandering around here with the 3 various lenses, hopefully show you the results that illustrate the difference you can get with 3 different primes. Well, I've set the camera up so that hopefully I can get in the frame and show you a couple of the shots that I'm interested in. First and foremost is this old truck tyre, which has got some weeds growing up through the middle of it. So that's grabbed my attention, and I want to try and frame it up so that we've got the old bridge control building in the background. So I've got the 17mm on. I'm going to focus on those weeds. I'm going to keep it something like f8. Can't get the whole of the tyre in, but I can get the building in. So we'll see what that looks like. I'll just move back slightly and take a wider shot, this time landscape format. I know you probably can't see me in this one, but that's probably a blessing really, isn't it? Let's be honest. Okay. And now this area over here, which I think you can hopefully still see, I love the old cable drum and this massive bulk of wood, which I presume would have hung over the side of the dock to protect the side of ships rubbing up against the stones. So I want to take photographs of those 2, and then over here, which I think is hidden from the camera, we've got a car wheel and tyre, incredibly rusty, so I'm going to be doing some shots of that. So first of all, just so I can give you a comparison of the coverage, this car tyre and wheel from here, fair enough. I should have the bag with me really, but I've found a very good resting place for it. So the first shot was with the 17mm, so same viewpoint. This is with the 25. I'll swap it out for the 60. Same viewpoint. There we go. I'm not sure which or if any of those will be keepers, but they're taken to give you direct comparison. Now what I'm going to do is to focus on this rusty old nut and bolt here. Oh yes, we like that. So much texture in this wood. And we'll take one of this sort of hoop suspension thing. Right, that's that. And then similarly on here, I'm going to use the 60 again. On this old cable drum, I'm loving these rusty old nuts and the central metal spindle. And I want to emphasize the diagonals. There's absolutely no point in doing anything else. Diagonals are always strong in your compositions. And I'm going to move back slightly to get that central spindle in frame. So even though none of those are going to be keepers necessarily, they've been taken specifically to illustrate to you the difference of coverage, angle of view, perspective, all that kind of thing. And what I'd love to hear from you in the comments are your thoughts on a holy trinity of lenses for you personally. Do you already have 3 fixed primes? Do you have 2 or 3 zooms that cover all the focal lengths that you need? Zoom's definitely a possibility for a lot of people, particularly if you've got the budget to go down the pro line, because obviously fast apertures, not quite as fast as you can get with your primes, but getting close. And the quality these days is astounding. Of course, when you're an old fart like me who comes from a period when zoom lenses were pretty damned awful, a great example of that would be the old Nikon 43 to 86 zoom, which is widely regarded as the worst zoom lens that Nikon ever made. But to be fair to them, that's more to do with the time. It was introduced in the 60s, I think, early 60s at that. So, you know, that's an excuse. Of course, moving on to the 80s in particular, that was probably the period when super zooms first hit the market big time. So people could invest in a 28 to 200, for example. You know, Tamron, Sigma, they were all making them. Quality was, you know, variable, I think, to be fair, at best. But nowadays, certainly 2 zoom lenses will easily get you from like 24mm up to 200mm. No problem whatsoever. I don't like the idea on the Pen F though, because they would be too bulky. It wouldn't handle as well or look as nice. But I hope you've enjoyed some of those photographs. When I put them up on screen, I'll put a sort of slideshow up, and you can perhaps let me know your favorites or which you think are the worst. Don't make too long a list of the worst ones. And I will see you all very soon for another video. In the meantime, I hope everybody stays fit and well, and that you really do enjoy your photography. So until the next time, see you later. Bye for now.